All right, time for another basics practice. The last one didn't go as well as I'd hoped. I don't know why you guys do this. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Remember something, hold on to it forever. So the issue with number one is this fraction. As far as I'm concerned, it's this fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 5 both sides. That causes a cancellation here. You don't multiply everything by 5. I don't know why you think you do. You don't do that. It cancels. And you're left with 3 times 3x minus 5 on the left and a 40 on the right. Then you invoke that distributive property. 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times a negative 5 is negative 15. Still equal to a 40. We're going to add 15 to the right-hand side, so 9x is now 55. And we're going to divide through by 9. And 55 over 9, last I checked, does not reduce. Again, that's a 55 over a 9. 2, we got absolute value. I'm going to use the same technique. I don't like the fact that there's a fraction, so I'm going to divide that 3 out. I'm going to invoke the distributive property on the right-hand side. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 3 is 9. And with the 3's gone, they are canceled. They do cancel out. I don't know why some of y'all don't seem to get that. I can now invoke the distributive property here. 40x minus 20 is equal to 21 minus 9x. Sorry, absolute value. So I'm going to write my 2 equations. Because absolute value has 2 answers. It's like an 8th grade concept. 40x minus 20 is 21 minus 9x, or negative 40x plus 20 is 21 minus 9x. Notice the difference? The signs changed on the stuff inside. Anyways, I'm going to add 9x to 40. That's going to give me 49x. I'm going to add 20 to 21, so it's equal to 41. And I'm going to divide by 49. I'm going to get 41 49ths, which does not reduce. Or over here, I'm actually going to shift my x's over this direction. Negative 9 plus 40 is positive 31. 20 minus 21 is negative 1. Divide by the 31, negative 1 31st. 2 answers. That's how hard it is. 3 is a volume of a sphere, and you're supposed to solve it for the radius. So let me rewrite this where it looks better as a fraction. And I'm just going to tackle that dividing by 3 first. I'm going to 3 both sides. Cancellation on the right. My new line now looks like this. I'm going to do what's easy. I'm going to divide by 4. I'm going to do this in a multi-step process so you don't get lost. Because I have the room for this. Divide by 4. 4's cancel. Moving on with my life. I now have 3v over 4 is pi r cubed. Other thing I don't like is this pi divided out. I already had a perfectly good denominator. Now I have 3v over 4 pi is r cubed. And the opposite of cubing is to take the cubic root. So I take the cubic root of both sides. And that, boys and girls, is my answer. Not a very good looking root sign there. There you go. The cubic root of 3v over 4 pi is r, because those cancel. 4 was a disaster on your little quiz. I even had this little hint over here, and it was still a disaster. I mean, some kids just like, I don't know, there's an I. I'm going to do first and last. That's what you did. X times x is x squared. X times a negative 2i minus 2ix. 7i times x plus 7ix. The big thing I noticed was sign mistakes. You're making sign mistakes? You think a positive times a negative is positive? Go hug your last year teacher. You shouldn't have been promoted. 7 times 2 is 14, and it is negative because it's a negative times a positive. I times I is I squared. But wait, that hint was given. I mean, if I go off to the side and I think about that I squared being a negative 1, I'd have negative 14 times negative 1, which is positive 14, which is how I told you guys to do this. I told you to cancel out the I squared, change the sign, because that's how hard it is. But y'all just over there playing like, I don't know, it's Milbrath, he's horrible. It's his fault. It ain't my fault. I didn't make you that way. You're choosing this stuff. You are choosing with bad study habits. You are comparing my class to a non-tested course. You are comparing math to English. Math is a whole different beast and it requires a lot more of your time. Again, double distributed property, 3x times 4x is 12x squared, 3x times negative 2 is minus 6x, negative 5 times 4 is negative 20x, and negative 5 times negative 2 is plus 10. We combine like terms and we're done. There is a negative 26 in the middle. If your problem is you think negative 6 and negative 20 is 14, there's your issue. Fix that issue. Moving forward. 6 went well, 7 did not. Only a handful of kids couldn't figure out this means you let x be negative 3. That's what you do. So 5 negative 3s minus a 7 is going to be negative 15 minus 7, which is negative 22. I don't know what y'all were smoking when you did 7. 7 is f of negative 3 plus g of negative 3. That's what she is. So I'm going to go off to the side and I'm going to find g of negative 3. Means I let that x be negative 3. It's negative 17. That was negative 22, by the way. Anyways, so I know that f of negative 3 is, notice it right there, negative 22, plus because there's a plus. That guy goes in right there, and that gives me negative 39. It's not hard, but y'all did your own thing. You guys were introducing x's. What? What do we got? Number 8. Out of 80 juniors, there's about 5 of you still can't do slope. Can't do slope? What? What's wrong with you? Slope is y2 minus y1, negative 7 minus negative 3, over x2 minus x1, 5 minus 1. Now 7, taking away negative, has been addition forever. So negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. 5 minus 1 is 4. Results negative 1. ACT stuff is next. How many prime numbers between 0 and 30? So I'm just going to write down, that should say 130, whatever. You got a 1, you got 2. I'm just going to write down the whole list. The reason I'm writing down the list is so that I can mark off the ones that are primes, or circle the ones that are primes. I could do this in my head, but I might miss one, and you wouldn't have a clue what I'm doing, because you're probably not listening to any audio. 1 is not prime. 2 is the first prime. 4 is divisible by 2. 5 is prime. 6 is divisible by 2. In fact, all even numbers are not primes, with the exception of 2. If it's even, you throw it away because it's divisible by the number 2. Now, 11 is prime, 13 is prime, 15, this is a 15, is divisible by 5, not prime. 17 is prime, 19 is prime, 21 is divisible by 3, not prime. 23 is prime, 25 is divisible by 5, 27 is divisible by 3. There's 1, 2, 9 is divisible by 3, I almost got out of that. 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 primes. It even says 1 is not a prime. It's part of the definition. All right, robots question. You guys took the little formula I gave you and just murdered it. I mean, you murdered it. This is time 1. This is time 2. This is time 3. I just plug them in their respective spots. So 4 hours. Time 1 is 4. 1 over 4. Don't forget the x. Time 2 is 5. 1 over 5. Don't forget the x. Time 3 is 2. 1 over 2. Don't forget the x. And it equals 1. And I want to figure out how long it takes to do together. So I'm going to multiply everything by the LCD so I don't have fractions. 4, 5, and 2, the smallest thing they all enter is 20. What I'm doing is I'm multiplying. by a common denominator. So 20 times a quarter is 5. Plus, by the way, this is like fourth grade math. Maybe fifth. 20 times a fifth is 4. 20 times a half is 10. 20 times 1 is 20. I took something ugly and I made it something easy. If I add my x's together, I get 19 of them, still equal to 20, and x is 20/19ths of an hour. So if they work together, they can do the whole job in just a little over an hour. That is, by the way, this is an Algebra 1 skill. It's not Algebra 2, it's Algebra 1. Very little of what I've shown you is actually Algebra 2. We're just doing Algebra 1.